Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to step into a dramatic and emotional journey. The story of Dieu and Huyen, a couple whose small wooden home is caught in the heart of a raging storm. From the terrifying winds that threaten to tear their house apart, to the inner battles they fight between fear, despair, and hope. This is a tale of love, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of survival. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the next episodes. Hello everyone, I hope you're safe and well. Tonight, let's step into a story where the sound of rain isn't just a lullaby. It's the voice of a storm threatening to tear apart everything fragile in its path. It was a night when the rain did not simply fall. It crashed down like an army pounding on the rooftops. Thunder growled from the heavens, and the wind howled as if it were trying to rip the tiny bamboo house out of the earth. Inside that fragile shelter, every creak of the walls sounded like a warning that the storm might swallow them whole. In that chaos, a child's voice rose, soft yet piercing. Maya, her eyes wide and trembling in the dim light, looked up and asked, "Uncle D, will you stay with my mother forever?" The question was like a bolt of lightning, so innocent, yet it carried the weight of an entire world. Hope, fear, and a longing so heavy that even the storm outside seemed to pause for it. For in that one question, the fragile tomorrow of this small family hung like a thread ready to snap. The half-finished roof rattled under the relentless pounding of rain. The scent of wet soil mixed with smoke from the fire, clinging to the air as though nature itself wanted to remind them how small they were. A lone oil lamp flickered desperately, its flame bending against the draft, casting unsteady light across the room. Huyen sat hunched over, sewing an old shirt, her hands trembling not just from the cold, but from the weight of a silence she had carried for years. Beside her, Day pressed his hands firmly against the bamboo wall, patching it with urgency, as if each drop that slipped through might be the one that drowned their fragile sanctuary. And between them, Maya's little hands tugged at her blanket. Her gaze never left D. To her, he wasn't just Uncle D. He was the man who had carried her through mud when the world felt too heavy, the one who had breathed laughter into her darkest days, and the one who seemed, even now, like a shield against the fury of the storm. But then came her whisper again, soft as the beating of a small heart, yet louder than the thunder to those who heard it. "Uncle D, will you stay with my mom forever?" The needle slipped from Huyen's fingers, pricking her skin, but she didn't notice the pain. Instead, a rush of heat burned across her face, her chest pounding like the drums of the storm outside. She dared not look at him, for she knew her eyes would betray her. A lifetime of fear, longing, and a fragile, unspoken hope. Dee's hands froze too, his palm resting on the trembling wall. Her words didn't just touch him, they pierced him. For a moment, the raging storm outside was nothing compared to the storm tearing through his chest. Could he make such a promise? Could he dare to bind himself to them, knowing the cost? At last, he moved, sitting beside Maya, pulling the blanket around her tiny shoulders. His voice, though gentle, cut through the storm like a steady flame. Rain may come and go. Storms may rage and pass. But there are promises that outlast them all. I will never leave you, Maya. I will never leave your mother. The storm roared louder, as if challenging his words. But inside, Maya's small face lit up, her smile brighter than the flickering lamp. Her heart, once heavy, melted into peace. Within moments, she drifted into sleep, her breath steady, trusting that her little world was safe. Huyen, however, turned away quickly, her tears hot and sharp as they spilled. She wiped them fast, terrified he would see. Yet in her chest, something fragile bloomed. Hope. A dangerous, intoxicating hope that maybe after all the storms, they could truly stand as a family. Outside, the wind screamed and the rain hammered. But inside that tiny house, silence held them captive. Huyen's fingers rested motionless on her cloth. She didn't dare lift her head, didn't dare let him see the storm still raging in her eyes. For years, she had fought alone, shielding Maya from broken promises, patching her life together like torn fabric. And now, here was Dee, building walls not only of bamboo, but of safety, trust, and warmth. She wondered, could it last, or would the next storm sweep it all away? Day sat in stillness too, the warmth of Maya's small hands still burning in his own. Her question beat in his mind, each echo louder than the thunder outside. It terrified him, but it also gave him a strength he hadn't felt in years. He had lost too much already. Yet here, with Huyen and Maya, was something worth guarding with his life. Finally, Huyen's voice cracked the silence, trembling like the lamp's flame. Diep, don't make promises you can't keep. Maya is just a child. She doesn't understand. He turned to her then, his face caught in the golden light. His eyes held a fire steady against the darkness. Huyen, he said, his voice calm but fierce. I would never say those words if I didn't mean them. Life has been cruel to you, I know, but I want to stand here, beside you, no matter what storm comes. Her lips parted, but no sound escaped. Inside her, a war raged, fear against longing, doubt against desire. Her heart thundered louder than the storm outside. For the first time in years, she dared to imagine a tomorrow not built on running and hiding, but on laughter, warmth, and someone's hand holding hers. The storm outside pounded the earth like it wanted to break the world. But in that house, another storm began to quiet. A storm of doubt turning into trust. A storm of wounds softening into hope. By midnight, as Maya slept soundly, Day and Huyen sat in silence. The rain's heavy rhythm softened until it was almost like a lullaby. And in that fragile moment, they both knew something new was waiting to be born. When dawn finally broke, the storm had passed. The air was sharp and clean, the earth damp and alive. Sunlight pierced through the bamboo walls, painting golden stripes across the floor. Maya still slept peacefully, her tiny chest rising and falling as if in rhythm with the world itself. De rose first, stepping outside. The ground was soft beneath his feet, and droplets sparkled like jewels on the leaves. A rooster crowed in the distance, announcing survival, announcing renewal. He drew a deep breath, and for the first time in years, felt it, the unmistakable pulse of home. Inside, Huyen tied her hair back with trembling hands. She walked to the doorway, watching him bend over the small garden they had planted together. Her heart wavered, torn between caution and the warmth that terrified her. Then Maya's voice rang out, breaking the fragile silence. Mom, Uncle D, look, the sun is shining. She ran barefoot to the door, eyes blazing with joy. Dee turned, his hands dirty with soil, and smiled. "Yes, sweetheart, the rain has blessed our garden. Soon you'll see cucumbers and beans growing here." Maya clapped her hands, her laughter ringing like bells. She hugged his leg tightly, her joy spilling into Huyen's heart like sunlight after a storm. The storm refused to show mercy. It was no longer just rain and wind. It was a monster, roaring with an endless hunger to destroy. Every second felt like a punishment. Every gust of wind like the swing of an axe against our fragile home. The small wooden walls that once felt strong beneath my hands now trembled like paper, shivering in fear along with us. Thunder cracked overhead, so loud it felt like the sky itself was splitting apart. Each flash of lightning lit the room for only a heartbeat, revealing Huyen's face, pale, wet with rain and tears, her eyes wide with terror. The sight pierced me deeper than the storm outside. I tightened my grip on her hand, as if that one act could anchor both of us against the rage of the heavens. "Day," she whispered, her voice trembling. "The water, it's rising." Her words were like a knife. I looked down and saw it. Muddy, restless water seeping in through the gaps in the floor, curling around our ankles like the cold hands of an enemy trying to pull us under. It wasn't just water. It was a warning. Leave now, or be swallowed whole. Inside me, two voices clashed like the storm outside. One screamed with urgency, "Run! Escape to higher ground before it's too late." But the other, softer yet heavier, held me down. This house is not just wood and nails. This is our sweat, our sacrifice, our dreams woven into every corner. If we abandon it now, we abandon everything we fought for. I could barely breathe. My chest felt tight, as if the storm wasn't just outside, but inside me, twisting my heart into knots. "Hold on," I forced the words out, though they felt fragile, as breakable as the roof above us. "Just a little longer. If the walls can survive until dawn, so can we." But even as I spoke, doubt gnawed at me. Above us, the roof groaned under the weight of water. The sound was like bones straining before they snap. The storm was patient, cruel, and determined to strip us of everything. Huyen looked at me with eyes that seemed to ask 1,000 questions all at once. Her lips quivered as she pressed her forehead against mine. What if everything we built disappears tonight? What if tomorrow we wake up with nothing but ruins? Her words stabbed at me harder than the rain ever could. In a flash, memories flooded my mind. The days we spent under the scorching sun, gathering wood plank by plank. The nights we sat together, whispering about the future, laughing at the idea of having even this small home. The joy of seeing the first wall rise, as if it were the foundation of a new life. Every memory was a treasure, and all of it, every single piece, was at the mercy of the storm. I swallowed hard. Fear burned in my throat, but beneath it, a spark ignited. The storm could take my courage, but not my will. I lifted her face gently with both hands and whispered fiercely, almost defiantly, "If the storm takes this house, then let it. But it will not take us. As long as we're together, we can build again. We can fight again. This storm can crush our walls, but it cannot crush our spirit." Her eyes widened. For a brief moment, I saw something shift within them. The despair that had gripped her loosened its claws, replaced by something fragile yet powerful. Hope. Outside, the wind roared louder, as if furious at our defiance. But inside, between us, A tiny flame flickered, weak, yes, but alive. And then the storm struck its cruelest blow. A deafening crack ripped through the air. Part of the roof split open, and a torrent of rain poured inside, crashing onto the floor like an invading army. We screamed instinctively, rushing to move what little belongings we had to the driest corner we could find. Pots, clothes, blankets. Our entire world was now drowning under the storm's relentless assault. The cold water stung my skin. My hands shook, not just from fear, but from fury. How much more could we endure? How much more would this storm demand of us? The house, once our safe haven, was now turning against us. Every groan of the wooden beams was a reminder that collapse was near. I could see the panic in Huyen's movements, the way her hands fumbled, the way her breath came in short, sharp gasps. Yet through it all, she didn't let go of me, not even once. "Day!" she cried, as another section of the roof creaked dangerously. "We can't stay here much longer." Her words echoed the fear that was tearing through me, but leaving meant braving the storm outside, the violent winds, the floods, the chaos. Could we survive out there? Could we survive in here? For the first time, I didn't have an answer. I pulled her close, my voice shaking but determined. If the walls fall, we'll run. If the water rises, we'll climb. No matter what happens, we will not give in. Do you hear me? We will not give in. Her arms wrapped around me tightly, and I felt her nod against my chest. In that embrace, even as the storm howled and our home broke piece by piece, we found a strange kind of strength. The kind born not from walls or roofs, but from love, defiance, and the desperate will to live. The night stretched endlessly, each minute a battle, each second a test. We didn't know if dawn would bring peace or ruin, but as long as her hand was in mine, I was ready to face whatever came next. Day and Huyen's life takes a terrifying turn
hẹp dưới
when a
ánh nắng
violent storm
hè gai
strikes
gắt.
their small wooden
Dù
home.
Maya ngày
The
càng mệt
wind
mỏi
howls like
và
a
sốt,
beast.
Huyền vẫn
The
tiếp tục
rain lashes
hái
down without
dương
mercy,
sỉ trong rừng,
and the fragile
biết rằng
walls
mỗi bó
tremble
thức ăn,
as if they
thuốc
might
men
collapse
và
at any
học
moment.
phí tại khu du lịch
Inside,
suối cá nhộn
fear
nhịp,
and
họ bán
despair
rau
grip them.
đối với những
Water
người từ
rises
chối
beneath
tiếp
their
tục.
feet.
Trong
The roof groans
trong
under the
khi
storm's
ánh mắt
weight,
Maya đượm buồn
and every
những món đồ
memory of
chơi cô
sweat,
bé không thể có.
sacrifice, and
Tối hôm
dreams
đó, trong
threatens to
căn nhà đơn
vanish
sơ
overnight.
được thắp sáng bởi
Yet in the
chiếc
chaos,
đèn,
love becomes their
họ
anchor.
chia sẻ những bữa ăn giản
Dee
dị,
clings to
trân
hope,
trọng những chiến thắng nhỏ bé.
vowing that even if the
Trong khi
storm
đó, ở
destroys
nơi
their
xa,
house,
đệ không
it
ngừng tìm
cannot
kiếm họ,
destroy their
ghé
will
qua
to
các
fight
chợ và
together.
hỏi thăm người lạ.
But as the roof
Một
splits
cuộc gặp
open and the
tình
flood
cờ mang đến
invades,
tin tức Huyền
the
và Maya
night
có thể
stretches
đang chờ
endlessly. Will
ở
they
Cẩm Liên.
endure until dawn?
Với hy vọng mới,
Or will
đệ
the
lập tức lên
storm
đường,
steal
quyết tâm đoàn
everything
tụ
they've built?
những hành trình đan
The
xen của
answer
họ, nói lên
lies
sự
just
kiên cường
beyond the
và hy sinh.
darkness.